Please turn with me to 1 Corinthians chapter 2 verses 12 to 16. Now we have received not the spirit of the world but the spirit that is from God, so that we may understand the gifts bestowed on us by God. And we speak of these things in words not taught by human wisdom but taught by the Spirit, interpreting spiritual things to those who are spiritual. Those who are unspiritual do not receive the gifts of God's Spirit, for they are foolishness to them, and they are unable to understand them because they are spiritually discerned. Those who are spiritual discern all things, and they are themselves subject to no one else's scrutiny. For who has known the mind of the Lord so as to instruct him? But we have the mind of the Spirit. 1 Corinthians chapter 2 verses 12 to 16 is part of a larger unit within the Corinthian letter. And the argument that Paul gives at this point, which is in 12 to 16, actually begins from 1:18 following. It is Paul's part of that larger argument, and in a sense, though not the culmination, but an important unit of Paul's argument against Corinthians and their attitude towards him. But where does he build his ministry? He builds his ministry and his life in comparing with the Corinthians is upon the life that he shares in the Spirit. Now, the role of the Spirit in his mission in chapter 2 that he is speaking here, that verses that we have read, is in a sense sandwiched between two passages, and that is the same issue mentioned twice quickly. In chapter 1 verses 10 to 17, he speaks about the division, the problem of division among the Corinthians, the party spirit. I belong to Paul, I belong to Cephas, I belong to Christ, party spirit, I belong to Apollos. Now, after that, he quickly moves into this section where he speaks about spirit a lot, and again it culminates his point by repeating the same word or the same issue in chapter 3 verses 1 to 9. So in a sense, Paul is now sandwiching this discussion about the Spirit that he is having and the experience of the Holy Spirit in the life of Paul and in his mission is sandwiched between the problem of party spirit among Corinthians. So now Paul is speaking here about the role he sees by depending upon the Spirit. What is he doing here? He's actually, in this select passage that we have taken for our meditation, Paul is explaining the distinctiveness of his missional activity, what he's doing in mission. He is actually showing the distinctiveness of that. For him, it is the Spirit-driven or Spirit-saturated mission that he is carrying out makes him different from others. Look, to the Corinthians when he speaks about them in polar opposite terms. He talks about himself as mature, and he talks about them as infants in the same section. He talks about himself as foolishness of the world that he is preaching, but he calls them as wise. He talks about himself and his people as saved, but he calls them, the Corinthians, who are more about the philosophies and others, he calls them unsaved people. He talks about himself as spiritual and his people who are driven by the Spirit. He's talking about them as spiritual, and others he calls fleshly, or the word in itself, if you study in Greek, it means soulish, soul, and the people whose life is oriented towards, it's the soulish sort of a thing, the lifestyle that they lead. I will point it out a little later. What does it mean? In this particular passage, if we cast our net little wider to understand what Paul is trying to say, it is not simply about the mission that he is speaking. Rather, you will start seeing that Paul is speaking about a particular understanding or the philosophy that he holds on in his life, which colors his vision about ministry. And that is important for us. We need to have a particular outlook towards our life. We need to have that particular outlook towards the mission that we are doing, why we are doing, what we are doing, through whom are we doing. The understanding must be clearer for us today in order to practice our mission and our life faithfully in the days to come. And Paul had that. Paul, if you see this problem that he's addressing, actually what inspires his words in chapter 2 verses 12 to 16 is actually what is given out by his understanding of what he is facing now. It is based upon something that he inherits already in his life. Today morning, in context of this, speaking about the spirit-driven Christian life, I just want to point out 3 important words from these 5 verses, and then explain to you what does it mean to have a spirit-driven Christian living or spirit-driven Christian life. I would rather think it as an authentic Christian living, and that is important for us. Number 1, the first thing, if you are a spirit-driven Christian, number 1, from verse 12, you will say that it means that your understanding is aided by the Spirit, the Holy Spirit. Your understanding is aided by the Holy Spirit. Corinthians had a lot of intellectual knowledge, perhaps. They had understood everything in philosophical terms. Perhaps some of them thought themselves to be very wise and knowing a lot of ideas and concepts from the secular world. And they expected the things to be spoken by Paul in such a manner that it will match up with the wisdom of this world. But now Paul is saying that I came to you with wisdom. We have spoken to you the wisdom. But the tragedy with you is that you cannot digest this wisdom. Because when we speak in a sense with the understanding that we gain out of the work of the Spirit in our life. Our understanding of the reality, our understanding of the mission, our understanding of our own purpose and plan of the future of our own life is actually given to us, imparted to us by the Holy Spirit. Verse 12, this is what it says. Now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit that is from God, so that we may understand the gifts bestowed on us by God. Christian life that is not empowered by the Holy Spirit is an inauthentic life. That life is not different from anybody else's life in this world. If at all we want to say that we are true Christians and we live by the will of God, let us make it a frank confession in our life that we need to be driven every moment. Our understanding needs to be formed based on what we receive or hear from the Holy Spirit. And that is why Paul says that we have received it. It is not inherent to us. We do not own it. But what is it? It is something that which God the Father has given to us. We receive it from Him and we just cherish His activities in our life. Why is it given to us? Why is the Holy Spirit given to us? So that we may understand what God has freely given to us. Why is the Holy Spirit given to you? It is not for some ecstatic experiences that will make you, think that you have attained, you have transcended this human realm and have experienced something different. Rather, the Holy Spirit is given into our lives with a specific purpose that the Lord has. That is that we will grow in our understanding of the things, understanding of the truth. Now, what is the truth? He says it is freely given to us. What is that? What is that which is given to us freely? It is actually the secrets that is confined to the mind of God, God the Father. The hidden says, He searches all things, even the deepest thing of God. What is the function of the Spirit? Just as my soul knows me perfectly, I know myself much more than somebody else's interpretation about myself. In the same way, the Spirit of God understands God's mind perfectly. And it is that Spirit who is given to you and me. You know why? Simply to understand God's mind. Simply to control and regulate our life according to the revelations that He brings. It is not a revelation about your future and what material prosperity you and I will have. It is not simply limited to the prophetic words. Rather, it is the greater enlightenment of the Word of God that comes to us, which explains to us what it means for us to be partners with God in His mission. Young man, young lady, listening to me, take it into your life one thing very frankly and undisputedly, that unless you and I start recognizing the role of the Spirit in determining our mission fields, in determining our plans for what we want to accomplish through our life, unless it is driven by the Spirit, we have every chance of missing the target. Missing the target. Paul says, oh Corinthians, don't you know that you are the temple of the Holy Ghost? You bear Christ in you. You bear individually in your life. You bear Christ in the corporate life as a church. But remember one thing, that unless you have that truth in your life, you will not be able to accomplish what the Lord wants to do through your life. It is that mystery which God had actually decreed before the ages. For what? For our glory. When we saw ourselves weak and frail and lost in this world, God had planned things for our future, salvation, sharing in that eternal blessings in eternity. That was hidden from the rulers of this world. They could never understand that. But that is given to you and me. So, when you and I decide our future plans, how many times do we plan things and keep it as a confirmation from God? We lay the application in front of Him and say that, I decided it, come on, approve it. Isn't that our approach many times? How many times do we look at the realities around us through the lens of the Spirit, Holy Spirit? How many times do we make judgments about the issues that we confront and the challenges in our mission field? How many times do we judge that based upon the understanding that we receive about God's mind through the inspiration of the Spirit? If we are not able to do that, what is the difference between us and somebody else's intellectual judgments given to us purely by his or her worldly, rationalistic conclusions? Why are we called? We are called to understand His mind. Graduates this year, as you think of graduating, your goal must not be to find out the package that you receive. That must not be the determining factor to decide where you will serve the Lord. The size of the congregation is not. The person whom you know is not. The comfort that you are going to receive is not the criteria. Rather, if you are to live a Spirit-driven Christian life, it is mandatory for you and me that you and I take the decision, first asking the Spirit. The second important thing, it is the testimony that we give is aided by the Spirit. What is our role as people of God in this world? Two important words He uses there, which I am summarizing as testimony. Testimony word is not used in the Bible, but I am using these two words to make one word. In verse 13, first He says, we speak of these things. What things? What things do we speak? We speak the things that the Spirit reveals to us. The salvation of the whole humankind through the death content. So why are we given this understanding? We are given this understanding to speak. Among the Corinthians, perhaps, Gnosticism was quite popular, and some of them were influenced by Gnosticism. Now, what is Gnostic spirituality? Gnostic spirituality is simply to say that I need the secret knowledge that comes from above. But once I receive it, I must limit it to myself, because I am the enlightened one. Now, by the secret knowledge, I shall not divulge it to anybody else, because it is purely for me. But when the Spirit comes to you and He reveals the mind of God to you and to me, when we read the Bible, when He gives us the greater truth about the Scripture, it is to be proclaimed. Speak it. Preach it, man. Preach it with complete boldness. Let that be the goal. Why we need to live and to gain the understanding from the Spirit. If not, we are the Dead Sea. We receive from God, but we never allow it to go out. And that knowledge is not according to the purpose of God. The knowledge, the revelation that the Holy Spirit, God gives through the Holy Spirit to us, is not to think ourselves as a people who have greater knowledge. Rather, it is to move out as His mouthpiece into the world, to speak it. And the second important word He uses in the same verse, 13, is interpret. Some of the translations will have discern as the meaning. Now, what is this? Discerning. Discerning is actually meaning to make the right conclusion. Paul encountered, as he moved from city to city, he encountered several challenges. The Corinthian church was facing several challenges. How did Paul give concluding words to them, advices to them, exhortation to them, or in a counseling context, how did he mentor the Corinthian Christians? It is by interpreting the worldly realities through the mysteries that the Spirit teaches you. Through the exposition of the Word that the Spirit that teaches you greater truth about the Word and God, it is that which gives you the lens to interpret the life of the people. You put your finger at the hurting nerve and then you say, this is what the point. How do you know that? Oh, I know, because the scripture says that your spiritual life is in danger because of this problem. You need to rectify that. The handbook for every missionary is the scripture. And the expounder, the expositor, who lives with you always, is the Holy Spirit. Let us be sensitive to His voice. But when we receive it, let us be bold to go out and preach. Don't expect everyone to understand that when you speak. When you speak this thing, don't expect people to understand that. Even when Paul communicated, people did not understand. That's what Paul is saying in verse 14. He says that not all can understand it. You know why? You know why all cannot understand when you speak certain truth? Because it is soulish. Because it is soulish. A human being created by God by imparting soul into him, making him alive, requires actually God's breath for future guidance. That God's breath, the Spirit, needs to be still with Adam and Eve if they had to move in proper direction. Otherwise, you are a living being. You are not a spiritual being. You become a spiritual being and connect with God, the source of the all spirituality. It is only by your and my sensitivity to the Spirit. Let me quickly mention the last point and finish it off. Verse 15 and 16. The third important thing is examining. Examination aided by the Spirit. Help enhanced by the Spirit. In verse 15 and 16, NRSV translate it as discern. But if you read the original language, the word can actually be meaning to examine something. What is this examining something? It is actually asking the right questions. Asking the right questions. And that's what Paul is saying here. When you ask right questions, it is actually the Spirit-enabled rationalization of the realities in your life. You need to understand, you need to speak it out, but you need to examine it within yourself. And that is the Spirit-driven Christian life. Why is the Holy Spirit given to you? To rationalize. If that can be rationalized, please do it. Examine the situation and the context based on what the Spirit teaches you, the greater hidden truth in the mind of God. And that is not denying human judgment. Verse 15 says, it is not merely human judgment, but with human judgment, the human judgment that is inspired by the Holy Spirit. It is that will give us the right path, the right judgment in our life. Why? Because we have the mind of Christ. The great bold declaration finally he makes in verse 16, the last sentence. But we have the mind of Christ. What is the mind of Christ? It is the mind that reflects the nature of Christ. It is the mind that reflects the teachings of Christ. It is the mind that teaches you about the teachings of Jesus Christ. Holy Spirit was indwelling in him, and Spirit was active through his action. His ministry was ministry of the Spirit. And when he says about giving the Holy Spirit, he says, I will send my Spirit. Another person actually, Paraclete. He will give. And that Spirit, actually what does it do? When you allow him to work in yourself, he recreates your mind as the mind of Christ. You start seeing things as Christ sees it. You start thinking things which as Christ thinks. You start imagining and talking things, speaking things as Christ would speak. You respond to the situations as Christ would, provided you and I are sensitive to the Spirit. Friends, let us give ourselves into God's hand. Who can do it? Who can instruct God? No one can. That's a loose midrashic reproduction of Isaiah chapter 40 verse 13. But nobody can, only the Spirit can. But that Spirit is given to you and me to live in this world. And that Spirit will give us understanding. That Spirit will give us testimony, the strength to testify. That Spirit will help us to examine your cognitive, your functional, and your inner soul. All three are met. Your soul you will search with examination. You will function by speaking it, inspired by the Spirit. Your cognitive level is actually controlled by the Spirit. You understand the Spirit. Shall we all close our eyes and look to the Lord?